with the government of Bhutan on promoting human values for nature and development towards conscious food systems. Now, I want to say that you're joining us for a journey at a time when we all need what I would call positive provocations and deep solidarity. And I think we've seen in the multiple conversations happening that there is a lot of that to go around. So that's where we should be looking and heading to that sense of where you see the light coming through, and that is led often by the government of Bhutan, and particularly the leadership of His Excellency the Prime Minister, because it does take the personal. It takes a deep commitment to place human values and compassion at the heart of what we do. And if we cannot look at that with the way we relate to nature and to development, then progress is hollow. So I want to say we are joined here by a number of leaders who have long championed sustainable development. And I think it is that special trust and it's those relationships that will allow us to now venture together on a less trodden path. It is more trodden in places like Bhutan, but I think globally, maybe what you will hear today is maybe that path less taken. But this is a group, I think, that is bold enough, brave enough to venture along. So let me immediately hand over. It's a pleasure to invite Haoliang, our acting administrator of UNDP, to share his reflections.
Thank you very much, Kani. Good morning, everyone. Your Excellency, dear Mr. Prime Minister of Bhutan, and Carlos Manuel, and the colleague from Club of Rome, Sandrine, very happy to see, and also ministers, ambassadors, and colleagues from different organizations. Very happy to see you. And today, I would like to really begin by thanking the Royal Government of Bhutan for its visionary leadership, fostering breakthroughs for people, our natural world, and the future of food. Bhutan's development philosophy, grounded in gross national happiness, continues to inspire the world. It reminds us that human well-being cannot be separated from ecological balance, cultural integrity, and spiritual life. These are not just the Bhutanese values. These are human values. So they are urgently needed today as we face converging crisis of climate change, biodiversity loss, and the growing inequality. So these challenges threaten our economic stability, as 55% of the global GDP is either modestly or highly dependent on nature. This is how serious the problem is. And they also endanger the very foundations of development, including our food security. So we recognize that these challenges cannot be solved by technology or innovation alone. So they demand a deeper shift in mindsets and in values. And this shift is reflected in UNDP's new strategic plan, which is trying to align human development more closely with a healthy planet. And central to this effort is our nature pledge. And it is trying to leverage nature and to integrate nature into development policies and practice this in more than 140 countries. And for example, Bhutan, where UNDP worked with the national and the local authorities under a project funded by the Global Environmental Facility. to restore the twin lakes of Layu. It was not implemented just as a technical project. It emphasized the lake's cultural significance, deeply revered by locals as sacred, secured community buy-in, as well as the government and the institutional. Just as the lakes were more than just water, food is more than mere substance. It is a powerful connector of human values, culture, tradition, identity, and the care for us. Conscious food systems integrate the ways of being, thinking, relating, producing, and consuming that are both mindful and value-based. So through the UNDP convened Conscious Food Systems Alliance, we're helping to cultivate these inner capacities to support more transformative change. For example, take the second organization in Egypt, now working with over 40,000 farmers. It has been greening the desert for 50 years through a unique approach that blends cultural development with biodynamic farming. And under our partnership with GEF, we led the first ever pilot focused on taking deforestation out of commodity supply chains. So it is a systems change with an accompanying shift in values and in mindsets. So, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we have a great opportunity ahead of us. The first ever Global Conscious Food Systems Summit will take place in 2026, generously hosted by the Royal Government of Bhutan in collaboration with the UNDP and the Conscious Food Systems Alliance. It will be a space to invite new partners, ideas, and resources to this critical agenda, including from philanthropic sector. As part of the UN family, the UNDP is committed to work in this path together. Food system will not transform until we transform ourselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Haoliang. And if I can now call on His Excellency, the Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Bhutan, please deliver his keynote remarks. Excellency.
Thank you, my friend, Haoliang. For a very powerful call to action. To transform ourselves, we must transform the food systems. Let's transform ourselves. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kami, for organizing this. Very happy to meet you. Sandrine from the Club of Rome, so good to meet you. Excellency, but Kami, you're all excellent friends. Carlos, so good to see you again. Sabina, Jonathan, like, I'm surrounded by friends. A very good morning to all of you, and warm greetings from His Majesty the King and Her Majesty the Queen of Bhutan. It is my pleasure to join you today to discuss a topic that is close to our hearts: advancing human values for nature and development, and our shared responsibility in advocating for a conscious food system. While not everybody would have visited Bhutan, although I see many faces here who have actually visited Bhutan, flying into Paro International Airport offers a vivid and a thrilling introduction. As the plane descends, travelers are greeted by expansive forests and cultivated fields, golden crops in the autumn, lush green rice fields in summer. These landscapes reflect deliberate policymaking aimed at fostering a sustainable food system, guided by the leadership of our visionary monarchs, who have always prioritized the well-being of our people, environment, and our culture, and our spirituality. Bhutan has been pioneering the concept of gross national happiness, GNH, since the 1970s. In 2013, we proposed a new development paradigm to the world in the UNDP, in the UN, placing societal happiness at the center of the development. GNH, gross national happiness, is not just an ideal. It is our reality woven into our government, society, and our food systems. Our commitment to GNH is most evident in our approach to food. Bhutan strives to build conscious food systems that are ecologically sustainable, culturally rooted, and socially inclusive. A recent biodiversity and climate expenditure review conducted with technical assistance and support from the UNDP revealed that Bhutan invests at least 2.1% of our GDP directly on climate action and biodiversity conservation. Think of it as a humble contribution to our world as a global public good. Food systems are central to addressing climate change, biodiversity loss, and land degradation. Our policies prioritize environmental conservation, with one of the 4 pillars of gross national happiness being environmental stewardship. We use a policy screening tool to ensure development and growth never comes at the cost of nature. Our journey towards conscious food systems is rooted in value-based governance. We promote organic agriculture, reduce chemical inputs, and protect traditional farming knowledge. Our farmers are not just producers, they are custodians of biodiversity and keepers of an ancestral wisdom. In Bhutan, food is not merely a commodity, it is a connector. It links people to nature, communities to culture, and policies to values. We view food as a sacred exchange between the earth and its caretakers. Our policies encourage local production, seasonal consumption, and traditional foodways. With over 60% of our population in agriculture, our commitment to becoming fully organic means steadfast. Today, it is almost fully natural, but to becoming fully certified organic is steadfast. One major initiative supporting this vision is the Gelupu Mindfulness City, a hub for regenerative agriculture and value-driven food systems. Bhutan is also proud to lead and to be part of the G0 Forum, a global net zero, climate resilience, and a nature positive world. I'd like to take a moment to thank UNDP and Jeff for your support in making G0 possible. I'm pleased to announce that Bhutan will host the Global Conscious Food Systems Summit next year, again in partnership with UNDP and the Conscious Food Systems Alliance. I warmly invite all of you to witness firsthand the Bhutan I've shared with you today. The summit will be a unique opportunity to share our journey and learn from others seeking alternate pathways to well-being and sustainability. Participants will experience our diverse local organic cuisines, rich cultures from across our country, and the spirit of community that defines Bhutan. This summit, the Global Conscious Food Systems Summit, reaffirms that happiness, health, and harmony are not luxuries, they are necessities. It opens doors for collaboration, knowledge exchange, and policy innovation. Let us work together to co-create a future where development is measured not by profit alone, but by purpose, by compassion, and by collective well-being. Let us remember, the future of food is not about abundance alone, but about balance, nurturing both people and planet, honoring diversity, and cultivating happiness from the ground up. Bhutan stands ready to work with our partner nations, institutions, and communities who believe, as we do, that happiness is not a destination, but a way of living, a way of being. Together, let us redefine progress. Let us nourish not just our bodies, but our spirits. And let us walk forward consciously, courageously, and compassionately. I look forward to welcoming all of you, old friends and new, all of you, my country. Thank you, Tshering.
Thank you very much, Excellency, and powerful words. And I think all of us here will be reflecting on these. I had not heard it articulated this way before, that conscious food systems at the end of the day is a sacred exchange. And that, the fact that each of us are, as individuals, as societies, responsible for that stewardship of these relationships with each other, with nature, and with our larger spiritual selves. So as always, you have started us down this very special path that I now hand over to Sarah, who is, as you know, the founder of the Future Food Institute, to moderate the discussion. I think we have to excuse our acting administrator, who will have to leave soon. Thank you very much, Haoliang.
We'll take all the decisions on your behalf.
See delegates.
Is my comment.
I'll leave now.
I will take a lot of demands, so I recommend funding.
Sarah, over to you.
Thank you so much. It's a great honor, and I would say we all feel a strong responsibility. And I wish we could hear this kind of keywords every day during this week. Thank you so much, Excellency. And I think that now you have been setting the stage for this very ambitious vision. And we want to go from ambitious to practices, action. And so I invite to come on stage Andy Bogarnik. He's the founder of the Conscious Food Systems Alliance, but also leading the food systems at the UNDP. So Andy, to learn more.
All right. And thank you so much, Prime Minister. Wow, your speech is such a champion of conscious food. I feel like I don't need to present Conscious Food Systems Alliance now. You captured, but I will describe a little bit about.
If I may,
Yes.
I didn't write it. It was written by my team, which is all the more important, because if it was written by me, it could just be hyperbole. Okay, but when it is written by the team, it is written by a system, and it will be the words and the policies they represent will be protected by a system.
And humbleness and modesty is part of all of this world of consciousness. But I really felt the spirit of Bhutan coming out. And, I was in Bhutan in 2002 with UNDP working in a protected areas system. And so when I conceived of the idea of CoFSA, the Conscious Food Systems Alliance, back in 2020, I always had the vision that Bhutan would be the first government to join the alliance. And so the fact that you've offered to host a summit next year and your beautiful words captured what we're doing, it's just wonderful to make that thing. So thank you again. And Carlos Manuel, I'm also, I've been working with Jeff for 25 years. I'm just so pleased that you are here on behalf of Jeff, and we can count on you, hopefully, as a strategic partner with this work as we go ahead. We were talking about how food systems need impact and change. And I think this idea of bringing values back is key. And I present that a little bit now, but thank you again for joining us. So I don't have too much time, but I would like to introduce to you all a bit about this Conscious Food Systems Alliance, which we call CoFSA. Again, we started it around 5 years ago. UNDP convenes it, but it's an alliance. It's a global alliance. So what I want to start with is this fundamental theory, let's say, that we live in a world of disconnection. This is where I want to start. And this is the root of a lot of our problems in the world, and particularly in the food system. Prime Minister started to talk about this, but we know food system is not working as it needs to work. We have obesity, we have farmer mental health problems, we have environmental degradation, agriculture is the biggest driver of deforestation, we have pollution. And the reasons for all of this, I will propose, lies in disconnection. Our disconnection from ourselves, our disconnection from others, and our disconnection from nature. And this disconnection is what we are hoping to try to put more focus on and attention on in this world as practitioners working on food systems. Now, what I want to introduce here, at UNDP, we focus a lot on systems change. Everything is holistic, everything is complex, everything is interconnected. And I love this model. It was created by Donella Meadows a long time ago. It's the iceberg. It's a very visual representation of systems that, as you may know, maybe not in Bhutan because you don't have icebergs there. But icebergs, only the tip of the iceberg is visible. That's what sunk the Titanic. And this is one of the big complexities of our work as practitioners. We see the visible, we see what is going on the surface. We see farming, we see agricultural practices with pollution, with damage. We see people starving, we see people obese, but we don't really know why. And we all have our different hypotheses of why. Some people look for finance, some people look at incentive structures. But what is key when we're thinking about trying to transform, catalyze change in systems is to go deeper and deeper and deeper to really try to understand what is influencing these practices. And as this model shows, the deepest level we can go in terms of levers of change is down to our own mindsets, our values, and our beliefs, because that shapes everything. Even finance, technology, it is shaped by our beliefs and our values, assumptions, and what I would say is currently disconnection. Everything, unfortunately, is being influenced by our disconnect from ourselves, others, and nature. And that is because of our modern culture. We live in a world dominated by a culture of separation. We see it all day long with our screens. I'm addicted to my phone. We're seeing it more and more. The next generation, AI, technology, it is just accelerating and enhancing this separation, which is shaping our behavior, which influences all decisions. And we also know that knowledge alone is not enough to activate behavior change. More and more science and data showing that it's absolutely essential to engage with emotions and values and our identity. That is what is going to influence behavior change. I spent 10 years as a head of environmental economics at UNDP writing reports and data and analysis. And I'm honestly not sure what has changed. I'm a true believer now that it's engaging with hearts and minds and innovation around engaging hearts and minds that is going to lead to real transformation. So what we need, this is what we believe in CoFSA we need. Maybe you believe it here, we can discuss it, but we need to bring connection. So if the problem is disconnection, we need to focus on how we bring connection into our work as practitioners. How do we bring connection into the way we design projects, how we implement projects, how we execute programs in our support to those we are trying to benefit? And within that, how do we bring connection into the institutions, the structures, the governance of food systems? If we can connect better as human beings, we will have better decisions in our food system. And how do we get that connection? It comes from compassion, from care, mindfulness, spirituality. All the terms, all the concepts that our Prime Minister just talked about. And so we, as CoFSA, we've used the word consciousness as the umbrella term to capture all of these values. You all have your own theories, your own language about what's important. Mindfulness or spirituality, compassion. I encourage you all not to get caught up on the term consciousness. If that doesn't resonate with you, it may be compassion, it may be love. That's not a word I feel comfortable using in public. I use the word conscious, but yeah, Prime Minister, you talked about all of these values. This is what we need to bring into our work and into our food system, to create a connection to really, truly transform the way we work. And so we fully believe that consciousness is a lever of systems change, if not, I would say, the most important lever of systems change. And we do not see it enough in our interventions and in our technical assistance. So we're not the first to come up with this. I'm not going to read this quote. I'll let you take a moment. But this was a former head of UNDP. And he even figured this out many years ago. And I know he works with many of you here. So I'm not at all taking credit for having a new idea. But the difference now is he says that at the time, scientists didn't know how to deal with issues of apathy, greed, and selfishness. And now I think we have more tools and more awareness on how we can bring this into our work. And that's what we're excited about. So this is why we set up the Conscious Food Systems Alliance. It is a fast-growing global movement to bring these fundamental elements of humanity into concrete reality. So it's all very nice to talk about love, fear, and spirituality, but it's out there. How do we actually bring it into our daily activities, into our projects, into our training programs, into our discussions with governments? And that's what we're about here. I'm grounded in reality. I've been spending 30 years on programming. So this is our challenge and our aspiration. It's how we bring this esoteric concept of consciousness into our work on food systems with all of you. And a key way to do that is we're trying to strengthen this role of and awareness around consciousness as a lever of change, and to start cultivating what we call inner capacities. So not just looking on the outside, not just trying to write reports about, subsidy reform, but how do we enhance our compassion, our care in our daily work? And we believe that we can help with that through bespoke trainings. So this is just some sense, again, consciousness. What do we mean by consciousness? So these are some concrete practices that we are bringing, and I'll talk about in a little bit, to those we are connecting with. So there's mindfulness, connecting to the land. Farmers and their connection to land is fundamental. We just heard about that. The broader connection with nature. We have here Midori heading our nature at UNDP. It's our nature pledge, nature values. Nature connection is everything. Cultivating joy. Fundamental, non-violent communication, compassion. These are concrete practices that we are trying to interject now with our stakeholders in the food system. Beautiful. So this is our fundamental, let's say, priorities at CoFSA. We're trying to focus on three key, let's say, stakeholders. One are farming communities. So how can we help farming communities farm more in harmony? We want to be working more closely with policymakers so that they are truly championing food systems transformation with more compassion and more care for their populations, for future generations, for nature. And for us, change makers. We have to change ourselves. I've been trying to change myself. It's been a long journey. I have a long way to go. But I think that's fundamental. Us at the UN and all of you, we have to become more conscious, more compassionate in the way we do our work. So these are the three stakeholders. In the future, we hope to engage with consumers on mindful, conscious consumption. But for now, these are our three targets. And we are a membership as an alliance. So we really work to empower our members. We have a thriving community of practice, training programs, and an incubator that we are capitalizing to provide grants directly down to our members at the grassroots in the field to, again, actually inject these practices in a concrete manner. So just very quickly, we'll be wrapping up soon, to give you some sense. This, again, is making this real. So our first generation our first round of incubator grants. We were training farmers on universal values in India to promote natural farming. We were working with indigenous communities to raise indigenous wisdom in their local food systems. We were working with schools to promote children connecting to their ancestral food, bringing ancestral food back into school meals. And we're also funding some narrative shifts around regenerative food, very systemic. We hope to capitalize, expand this incubator so we can continue channeling this type of consciousness assistance down to those who need it. There we go. So just to give you some sense, as I said, we are fast growing. We already have over 500 members. I encourage you all to join. From funders to academics to farmers to consciousness experts. I mean, really, we see ourselves as a conduit. The Alliance is a place where we blend consciousness expertise with food expertise, global to local. And that's what we do, is we help facilitate all of these connections. And just a few beautiful quotes, you know, as we work with our community members through the community of practice, this is what we're hearing, that CoFSA is allowing practitioners to take their personal spiritual journey into their workplace. This is transformative. And this is a surprise to me. How many people have said to me, wow, Andrew, you know, in a personal capacity, I am a compassionate person. I have my yoga practice. I have my mindfulness practice, but I never thought I could talk about this at work. You know, I never thought I could design a project that went beyond technocratic solutions. I didn't think I could focus on how to make connection more real. And so that's what CoFSA in part is helping with. We're helping legitimize consciousness as a lever of change. So, looking forward, I just want to join the Prime Minister on our call and inform everyone where we're headed. I have to say, 5 years ago, when I came up with the idea of Competence, I never imagined being in a room with so many thought leaders. It's really a privilege. And now, even more so, the idea that we're going to host with the government of Bhutan the world's first ever summit, global summit on conscious food. It's quite mind-blowing. So again, my gratitude to the government of Bhutan for hosting this. I can't imagine it being started anywhere else. And it's going to be a milestone for all of us champions on consciousness. It will be a place to elevate consciousness as a lever for food systems transformation. We hope it will provide inspiration to all other countries. So again, so grateful that Thailand and Ecuador and others are here in the room. We want to bring in other governments, other partners to be strategic partners in forming this summit and co-hosting it, and to bring the inspiration of Bhutan to these other countries so that conscious food can become a global dominant. And then, you know, of course, we want it to be experiential as well. This is about consciousness. So everyone who comes, we want to have a personal transformative journey. This won't be your standard summit. There will be, as we said, beautiful food from Bhutan. We'll connect with the farmers. We'll make spaces to connect with each other. We want to walk the talk of making this a very beautiful, conscious summit. And the idea is that we will continue to catalyze the movement and take this forward towards 2030 beyond. We're just at the beginning of a journey here. And so I really do welcome you all to join us in Bhutan, join our movement, become CoFSA members. And again, just thank you all. What a privilege it is here to be talking about this. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Actually, I'm feeling proud to be there and to be one of the members of this incredible family. Thank you for what you have been sharing. And now I want to jump into reflections. We've been hearing excellencies that have been setting the stage for this conversation. And I want to learn from our guests. I'm going to start from Carlos Manuel Rodríguez, CEO from the Global Environment Facility. So, Jeff, from your perspective, I'm wondering what the role of consciousness and inner change for nature and development and overall. I want to learn the opportunity of the summit, how we can grasp the opportunity of the summit.
Thank you so much. And first, let me thank our host for having us here. We are here in the House of Human Well-being in a Healthy Planet. And yes, of course, Your Excellency, Ambassador Tobgay, dear friends and colleagues. What a topic. I mean, beautiful topic and something that I've been personally involved myself throughout most of my career. And let me begin with an anecdote that I went through in 1991 that really reflects the human challenge with regards to the food systems and how we produce our systems. In 1991, Costa Rica was very good in reading the international market, and as the Europe came together, we saw the potential for new markets for commodities. So the government established a policy to expand agriculture, particularly bananas for exportation. And the areas that these farms were going to be located were areas where we were doing conservation, sustainable management of forests, by the way. So I was a young environmental lawyer in Costa Rica. I was very concerned about the contradiction of the government. And they gave a permit to a banana company to chop down 420 hectares of pristine old-growth tropical forest. Many of you have never been there, and let me tell you, it's unique. I went there with the Minister of Agriculture, with the Minister of Environment, because we, civil society, were complaining in Congress about the lack of political coherence of the government. I mean, we went to this place, we were like 25 guys, 420 hectares of pristine forest on the ground, burning down because of expansion of agriculture. And there were like 20 journalists there, and the journalists look at the Minister of Agriculture and ask, Minister, what is your reaction to what you see here? And I mean, the clouds of smoke and forest on the ground, it was a Dantesque scene. And the Minister of Agriculture said, well, this is the cost of development. Come on, guys. I mean, Costa Rica is the #1 producer of banana per hectare, jobs, or whatever. 20 minutes of discourse of how good Costa Rica was in accessing marketing, producing the commodities. The journalists in the middle of the mud turned around and asked the Minister of Environment, Minister, what is your reaction? And the Minister of Environment said, this is an ecological catastrophe. This cannot happen in Costa Rica. They are violating all laws, all environmental laws. And he went 20 minutes in his discourse, and I was scratching my head and saying, my goodness, I think I got a professional career in this area of lack of political coherence. So this is what I saw in 1991 in Costa Rica, where two major decision makers were not able to be in the same page. And the irony of this, and this is what this initiative is so beautiful, the irony of this is that both of these decision makers work with biodiversity. Both of them. One sector works with domesticated biodiversity, the other sector works with wild biodiversity, with the same stakeholders in the same landscape. So how come we are not able to agree on simple things? And we don't agree on simple things because all of these decisions are driven by money and profit, not by values and principles. So here's where I personally embrace this initiative, because I come from a country that has systematically invested Costa Rica in education. When Costa Rica became independent, like the rest of the countries in Latin America in 1821, Costa Rica was the only country to appoint as the first head of state and a teacher rather than a four-star general, which happened in the rest of Latin America. And the rest is history. 200 years later, you have a strong democracy in Costa Rica, where the middle class is strong, and where people has connected the dots and has to understand that there is a protecting nature is not just good for our economy, it's a moral imperative. So I think that the challenge is not just coming up with adding value to how we produce our systems, understanding where we come from. I mean, people tend to believe that our disconnection, Andrew, with nature was when in 1804, there were 1 billion humans in this planet, and this is where disconnection. No, disconnection started when humans left Africa, because as we left Africa, everywhere we went, we transformed landscapes and we generate massive extinctions of animals and plants on this planet. So we are changing something that is within our genes. And I just don't want to call your attention. This is not natural to us. So for me, and I would like to conclude with two messages. For me, this is not just a paradigm shift in terms of how do we produce our food in better ways, in more efficient ways. And by the way, the food waste is so big in planet Earth that all of those emissions will be ranked as the second most largest nation in emissions. This proves that Homo sapiens is the less effective species in planet Earth. Anyway, my point is that the paradigm shift is not best practices in how we produce our food. The paradigm shift starts with institutional shift at the executive level. We cannot continue expecting changes if central government are still struggling to generate political coherence. Today, all countries of planet Earth, and this is a report from UNDP, this came in one of the financial report of the New York Forest Summit in 2015. UNDP said that all countries invest 144 times more financial resources in activities that generate deforestation than what they invest in protecting forests. So it's putting together the Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Environment at the end of the day. Huh? Well, that can be a good way. Look at what the UK is doing. The UK, Seychelles, and 8 countries in planet Earth, those has a Ministry of Environment here with some ideas, and a Ministry of Agriculture over there with different ideas. They got the same place. It makes a lot of logic to me. I mean, I don't divide how I manage human development in 10 different agencies, but I do it when I'm dealing with nature conservation. So it is challenging because our genetic setup is not in favor of harmony. No. It is imperative from all points of view, and it makes a lot of sense as we want quick wins. So I really believe that the summit next year will be a great opportunity to really continue expanding on other conversations with regards to food systems, but adding these elements that are the overarching principles that should be reflected, as Andrew said, based on the country realities. I like that, the country realities. And there's not one size fits all, but I think that the summit can be a game changer for us at the JEF. And once more, the JEF is not a donor. We are not a donor to the countries. We are the mechanisms that the countries decide to use to mobilize resources from the global north to the south. And I'm just the manager of those resources. So I do what the countries decide to do, and I constantly provide the best data and science for governments to take the best decision in the JEF Council. So JEF money is the most unrestricted, most flexible, and becoming the more agile. We went from spending 48 months in a JEF project to late 2026, where it will take 12 months to put together a JEF project. And thanks UNDP for the great effort in helping us do this big change. The JEF is the mechanism that countries do have, very flexible. Use the money in your political priorities. And I strongly believe that the benefits of using the JEF money in this kind of investment is massive, particularly in those countries who are carbon neutral and nature positive like Bhutan. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister and dear friends, from the opportunity. Believe that JEF will continue supporting and bringing resources to these efforts that aims for a better world and a system change that makes these life and relationship with nature very different to what it is today.
Thank you so much. Your work great source of inspiration for all of us in the field. So now I want to introduce Sandrine Dixon, Club of Rome, now Earth for All, crossed our pathway. And we've been hearing interesting keywords that reflects a lot what you have been doing during this year.
Yeah.
I want to know connection to nature, consciousness, how have been embedded within your journey and how actually you see them being unleashed probably in the next futures ahead.
Thank you, Sarah. And what an honor it is to be with you, Excellency, and the incredible work of the UNDP team and all of you, Thomas, who've really put so much time and effort in putting forward this initiative, which I find absolutely fundamental. And also to Carlos, my dear friend, because we've been working together. Let me first reflect on where I was yesterday, because I was in this room. I was in this room when President Trump was addressing the assembly on that screen. And Your Excellency, you have moved me very deeply, because while we were here talking about the new OECD UNDP report on investing in climate for a different kind of growth and development, Jochen Flassbart, who's the state secretary for Germany, said we have to shift from the poison of the me to the enlightenment of the we. And you embodied that in giving all of the credit for your speech to your staff. It is that shift in leadership. And I bring that up because the paradigm shift that we need is not only to bring people back to the land, but it's to bring our leadership in particular back to what makes us all whole. And that is the difference between your unbelievable leadership and the leadership that I hope many more, Carlos's leadership when he was in Costa Rica and so many other leaders are trying to do this. I bring this up also because as one of the task force leaders on the UN Food System Summit on resilience, I was, and this is a Chatham House meeting, incredibly disappointed by the fact that we had put in place collectively a framework to bring people and communities into re-anchoring food and nature and climate and a holistic social approach into the way in which we address our food systems. And yet, none of those suggestions were taken up in the end by the UN's deliberations. And that was because of the power of the agro-industry. And if we are truly going to make this movement a true paradigm shift, as Andrew has asked for and as Carlos has asked for, we must understand what we're up against. Because unfortunately, the traditionalists who are performing an extractive agro system are very much anchored in the money and in the profit, not for sharing, but actually for individual gain. So, Ghani, you did ask for positive provocations. And I do believe that the positive provocation is that we could not be at a better time to re-anchor people to the land, because the disenfranchisement of people is what is making this planet hurt, but also the leadership move into absolutely the wrong direction. How can we therefore bring more people on the journey? And that is what we have tried to do through the Club of Rome and Earth for All, which is using something quite technical like our system dynamic modeling, based very much on Dana's original, so Donella Meadows and Andrew, what you have shown in terms of the levers of Donella, based on her thinking of how can we get beyond the limits to growth. And the big aha moment, working with scientists like Johan Rockström and others, was that we will never be within the planetary boundaries or meet our decarbonization goals unless we bring people back to the center. unless we understand the social tipping points and the social ramifications of that disfranchisement, which is creating the greatest malaise that we've ever felt in human history. Conscious food systems, conscious energy systems, conscious human systems is what we absolutely need. And bringing that consciousness across all of our systems so that we shift the extractive, over-financialized model that we have of an economy that no longer services people at all and definitely doesn't service the planet. I'm going to come with two final points. One is my own personal journey, having grown up in California. When actually I went to one of the first co-ops, I don't know if you remember those incredible co-ops that we had in the US in the 70s, where as a child, as a 7-year-old, I was shown, because there are labels on all the food connecting the consumer to what they are actually eating. These are not just the different types of additives that are added in your food. It was a label indicating how the food was being produced, the social implications and the environmental implications. And that is when we were having a migrant crisis with regard to our tomatoes. But it is also when we were having another crisis, which is the tuna dolphin links and how we were killing off dolphins because we were fishing tuna. As a 7-year-old girl, I was then reminded of the links between the social and the environmental. And that was because of a determined effort by people to enlighten consumers through co-op stores. And that has been obliterated by the current system that we have of retailership. So we need to connect the dots. It's not just the farmers on the land. It's not just our incredible rural and frontliner producers. It's the consumers who want to be told and brought back to what nature is, the Ubuntu understanding of nature, which is you are nature and therefore you are me. And that, I think, is fundamental as we go through an understanding of that value chain, is how do we then connect people back to the land, even if they may not be on the land producing from the land? What does that look like? Because that disconnection is the biggest problem that we are facing. Through or through all, we've tried to do the analysis to see how we can do that. We're now actually creating a new social tension index for Brazil, for the COP, working with the Brazilian government on ensuring that we have a knowledge of the social and environmental tipping points, not only within a Brazilian context, but within a global context, and then what consciousness could mean within that. And I very much look forward to working with the UNDP, with Thomas and the team, with you, Sarah, with everyone around this table to make sure that we then create that connectivity and those narratives that are necessary to make this the ultimate paradigm shift. Because people are clearly shriveling today from the lack of love, from the lack of being connected to the land, and from the lack of leadership. So I come back to you, Your Excellency, to thank you deeply for your leadership. And I'm very hoping that you actually can have more of an influence on your peers as we move forward in this area. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandrine.
My peers, all here.
I think that Sandrine was echoing probably what we are all feeling. Excellency, I want to open up to you because I think that we have been hearing very strong messages, but I think that also your country has been pioneering in the system with your leadership, yes, but also with the idea of hosting this kind of summit. So I want to know from you what the two different voices has been adding to your thought and what we all can do as a community, as a family around UNDP that can take this message even farther beyond this kind of buildings.
Thank you. I just want to re-clarify. When I said it was written by my team, it was just to emphasize that those thoughts and words don't come from one person, but it represents systemic ideas. And that is much more powerful than any one person.
And deep humility. So thank you.
But The other is, you mentioned peers, and I really mean it. You are my peers, and we are all partners. We are friends in this journey. The Global Conscious Food Systems Summit in Bhutan next year will be a landmark event that will bring together leaders, peers, political leaders, business leaders, thought leaders in this field. And very importantly, bring together farmers, policymakers, and change makers, all to reimagine food systems. Reimagine food systems, going beyond looking at food systems just as supply chains, but as a system built on 3 C's. 3 C's of care for nature, connection between people and nature, and consciousness in both production and consumption. This summit will be a critical platform for Bhutan to showcase the larger efforts being made towards mindful development. Consciousness, basically, which is demonstrated through the establishment of the Gyeonggi Mindfulness City, a transformative urban development designed to embody the principles of gross national happiness, of sustainability, and of spiritual heritage. Gyeonggi Mindfulness City will be a living laboratory for mindful innovation, integrating agriculture, green technology, education, and cultural preservation. It will be a place where tradition evolves, where nature is enhanced, and where urban life is rooted in values. Gyeonggi Mindfulness City, where gross national happiness is taken to the next level. Gyeonggi Mindfulness City, where gross national happiness is GNH 2.0. Gyeonggi Mindfulness City, which celebrates consciousness in all its forms. But it's not just about GNH and GMC, gross national happiness in the Gyeonggi Mindfulness City. In fact, Bhutan joined forces with Madagascar, Panama, and Suriname to form G0 Forum, an alliance of carbon negative and carbon neutral countries launched at COP29 in Baku. This alliance, the G0 Forum, is aimed at accelerating global momentum towards net zero, climate resilient, and a nature positive world. This is an alliance with a clear message. We may be small in size, but our ambitions and our contributions are mighty, and that small nations can lead with courage and conviction. For the Conscious Food Systems Summit, it is not just about food. It is about how we live, how we lead, and how we care. Indeed, Andrew, about how we love. How we love ourselves, for each other, and for the planet. This is what we can and must showcase the world. And by we, I'm not referring to just Bhutan. We don't have much to showcase. But we together, if all of us join hands and hearts, we will have something worth showcasing. We will have a clear message. Food systems are at the nexus of our greatest challenges and our greatest opportunities too. They touch every sustainable development goal, from poverty and health to climate and biodiversity. Yet today, our food systems are under immense strain. They are both drivers of climate change, but also the victims of climate change. They nourish some, but leave many others behind. They produce abundance, yet often at the cost of soil, water, and indeed human dignity. Bhutan has taken a different path. More than half our population depend on agriculture, yet we have preserved 97% of our agricultural land in harmony with our natural ecosystems. We are expanding organic farming with over 5,700 hectares certified. This is a new initiative. And we maintain one of the lowest pesticides use rates in the region. That's why I say agriculture is almost all of it natural. And while we face challenges like climate shocks, wildlife conflicts, and youth migration, we are responding not only with technology, but with the values of compassion, resilience, and mindfulness. The Conscious Food System Summit will showcase this approach. It will invite the world to explore how inner transformation of mindsets, leadership, and institutions can unlock outer transformation in our food systems and beyond. We do not claim to have all the answers, but we offer our experience, our humility, and our deep belief that another way is possible. A way where development is not just a race for more, but a journey towards balance, dignity, and shared well-being. The initiatives I touched on earlier are not isolated efforts, but are threads in a larger tapestry of transformation that Bhutan is leading, and our renewed commitment for achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. The Conscious Food System Summit, Cross-National Happiness, G0, and a Gerufu Mindfulness City represents Bhutan's commitment to regenerative development, a development paradigm that heals, uplifts, and connects with nature. Indeed, Carlos, a paradigm shift. On behalf of CoFSA, UNDP, and my government, we invite the world to join us in 2026. Join us in Bhutan. Be a part of a movement, not just to discuss food systems, but to reimagine the future we are growing together towards achieving the SDGs. Let's make the summit to be a turning point. Let's make it a space where policy meets purpose, where science meets spirit, and where nations unite, not only in urgency, but in hope and in love.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Excellency. Now, I would love to open up the conversation because we have many distinguished guests here at the table, and I want to invite the Minister of Economy of Ecuador, Excellency Saria Moya, to give her remarks.
Thank you so much for this invitation, Excellencies, and for the initiative that you are holding. I think this is a good opportunity to reflect and to move forward a conscious, fair, and sustainable system. This is an important sector for us in Ecuador. And talking about food means in Ecuador talking about the agricultural sector and all that this sector involves. In our government, we've given several incentives for the productive sector in order to be more sustainable, but also to see it in a different way, to see the people, to see the families that are beyond this number of the percentage of the GDP that it's related to agriculture fostering. In our country is 9.5%, but we wanted to see beyond that. So I will talk about 4 things that we are doing in order to have a more sustainable system. First, we started talking about family farming because 60% of our food comes from family farming. And we wanted to improve the way they live because most of the time, these are the poorest sectors. These are the poorest families in Latin America. So we needed to talk about them, to talk about their family, and to start having information. Right now, we know that there are about 1.3 million of producers that have their whole family involved in the system. First, we approved and formalized an agricultural public policy that has policies and different strategies up to 2034, and it's aligned with our national determined contributions, which brings to the policy a different approach because we started talking about how we can be more sustainable in this sector. This year, we've already seen important results. We've seen a growth in agricultural sector of 17.5%. This has never ever happened in our country. Most of the time, our growth or economic growth has come from oil, from the oil sector, from fishery or kind of a shrimp, which is big in Ecuador, but not from the agricultural sector. This is something new for us. The IMF, the World Bank were forecasting 1.7 growth in our country. Right now, at June, we are in 3.9. It's a double. And 17.5 comes from agricultural sector. It's the biggest growth from all sectors, which means that when you foster your producers, then you will see the real growth and the difference. The other thing, the second thing that complements this agricultural public policy, it's how we are characterizing and how we are gathering information from something that we call peasant family agriculture, AFC, as we call it. This tries to get information from the producers that have limited access to land and capital resources, and encourages them to diversify household activities to generate income, such as services related to rural tourism, artisanal production, and smaller scale agribusinesses. So it is important to complement the usual farming activities with other activities that can enhance the income of their families. Most of the time, the labor force is primarily family-based, and their work relies on ancestral knowledge and wisdom that, as we gather the information, we can also share with the rest of the sector. The IFC not only produces food, but also contributes to the conservation and agro-biodiversity and local development, generating primary or processed products that go directly to our tables, which is the connection that I also like when you talk. The other thing that we created, it's alternative market circuits. Those are called CIALCO. These circuits strengthen family farming by valuing peasant labor through the IFC seal. So we have a seal for this peasant family agriculture, and that seal helps us identify those products that are coming from these families. This seal means that with this seal, we are promoting direct sales without intermediaries, which is one of the biggest problems that we have from the field to the table. There can be many intermediaries. So we are promoting direct sales and guaranteeing fresh and diverse products. In addition, we encourage the active and conscious role on the part of the consumer in order to reduce the ecological footprint and strengthen food security. The CIALCO also aligns with the Sustainable Development Goals. The CIALCO, these circuits are aligned with SDG 2, 3, 5, 8, 12, 13, 17, and doing this, finding these interlinks inside and working with the Ministry of Agriculture has been very empowering, not only on the measures that we are taking to benefit our producers, but also to help other ministries to get involved in this policy. Also, through this circuit, this alternative market circuit, we are working, and this is the first thing that I wanted to talk about. And in Ecuador, we have a food school program, but this program was based, because it was cheaper, actually, it was based only, a milk, a cookie. It was very simple, and it wasn't helping and nourishing the kids. So we started working also with the UN so that we can start changing. At the beginning, when we started with the pilots, the amount of money that we needed for the program was the double. because fresh products, all the logistics that you have to implement, it's more difficult. But as we started working through these alternative circuits, we are being able to reduce the cost, and we are working with the Ministry of Education in order to do this. We are still on a pilot program for this, but we think that maybe in a year we'll be able to switch the model from a model that was just taking not fresh products to a more sustainable one, and that can foster the family farmers that we have in Ecuador. One thing that has been important it's to identify all the things that we need to do in order to foster our family producers. For example, they weren't able to access to credit. So we worked with a financial system. The deposits have grown in 18%, and the credit for producers have increased in 15%. So there is an interlinkage there. You work with the financial system, the private financial system. You help them understand the importance of investing in this kind of producers, and then you can also foster the acceptance and the modernization of their agricultural. So you need to facilitate from different sides of the economy in order to have these results. And if we were able to grow in 75% during this year, I am pretty sure that next year's will be also we'll have also a better situation for agriculture. I think we need to think on the families and the people who is behind the food that we eat. And we need to find those tools that they need in order to give us better food and in a more sustainable way. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you also for mentioning the word health, very much connected with food and sustainability and environment. And now I want to give the stage to the Secretary General of Scaling Up Nutrition. So, Dr. Khan, I think that some movement at large has been leading in these decades on the sector.
Listening to this conversation, and first of all, I'd like to thank His Excellency for framing it so elegantly and with so much modesty, humility, but also with a vision. And a vision that's really based on values. And my predecessor, David Navarro, who coordinated SUN and recently passed, was very committed to seeing that we don't look at nutrition as an outcome of a value-based system where food and nutritious food lead to healthy outcomes for children, women, and families. And the reason that becomes so important is I really feel that food without nutrition is a little bit like air without oxygen. Good nutrition is key to unlocking human potential and is a foundation for resilient and stable societies. As you mentioned, it's linked to 17 of the Sustainable Development Goals. Scaling up as nutrition as a movement really brought together a series of partners from civil society, from small and medium enterprises placed locally within countries, from governments, as well as the UN agencies as a whole. And the idea was that the power of this force coming together in a meaningful way to address an issue where we are still faced, and it is a crisis of values, with famine now in 3 countries, major man-made famines, and the likelihood of another one coming on, that we really have to adjust how do we view what is right and what is doable. And how do we make sure that the food systems, and I was glad to hear that it was also mentioned what the impact of greenhouse gas emissions are of our current food systems, because we have to transform how they work so that they are no longer either toxic for people. And for the first time, I think in centuries, we now have more children that are overweight and obese than are undernourished. And that's largely because of a food system that isn't working for either people or planet. So in that sense, the work that all of you are doing towards conscious food systems becomes so much an important part of the transformation that we need to see in the nutrition agenda as well. It's respect for the food we produce, conscious consumption, but very importantly also the value of nutritious foods. And I noted that my colleague from Ecuador spoke so eloquently about the affordability also of food, of good nutritious food at an affordable price for the bulk of those who need it. And that's something also that I think we have to be very, very aware of, so that the incentives that are being put in place by governments are incentivizing the production of quality nutritious food. And that again is an element where I think this whole connection of that broader ecosystem of respect for land and earth, respect for people, and a conscious decision that we will promote values that lead to better building of the future of human society in a way with dignity is something that we need to come back to. And in a sense, we're at a little bit of a crossroads. So the voices around this table, Your Excellency from Bhutan, but also from the Global Environment Facility and several others, it becomes really important that we're able to use the institutional tools we have, whether it's the Club of Rome or UNDP, to help drive those values in a way that leads to outcomes where we have healthy societies, children who can survive, and mothers who are empowered and enlightened in a way that allows them to help their families reach the full potential that they can aspire to. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much also for reminding us the voice of David Navarro.
Yes.
Always pushing all of us to be bold with visions and these values in the work we are doing. So thank you so much. And now I would love to connect also with someone who's following online. So we were supposed to have here Stefanos Factio, director of the UN Food System Hub, but we're gonna have Ophélie. Emily, please, I give you his name.
Thank you. Indeed, and I'm conveying Stefanos Foti's apologies. He had a last-minute personal emergency, but I'm very happy to speak for the UN Food Systems Coordination Hub. The systems challenges that are associated with food have been discussed quite a bit today. 2.6 billion people that cannot afford or access a healthy diet. 30% of greenhouse gas emissions driven by food systems, 70% of biodiversity loss, 60% of freshwater use in the ag sector, and 80% of the world's poor living in rural areas. So all of these challenges that are really systemic, that cross boundaries, and that require integrated solutions. I've listened with so much interest to the discussion, the exchanges, and a lot of what was discussed today resonates with be the change that you want to see in the world. And nowhere is that more evident than in our collective mission to transform food systems. Transforming food systems demands that we rethink not only what we do, but how we do it, as His Excellency Prime Minister was saying. And that means, for instance, within the United Nations, to strengthen our ability to deliver at once. It means within the broader development community to avoid duplication, to leverage comparative advantages, and to collaborate in the face of constrained resources. It also means, as an international community and as citizens, all of us, a call for renewed commitment to solidarity as the cornerstone of our joint action. And anywhere it calls for breaking the silos, personal silos, institutional, as were discussed, sectoral, financial, temporal, and letting us be guided by our belonging to one common humanity, part of a much greater ecosystem. The UN Food Systems Coordination Hub is very proud to journey together with the Conscious Food Systems Alliance to ensure that these reflections connect to concrete action on the ground. National conveners in more than 120 countries are advancing food systems transformations as we speak in their own context, with tremendous leadership skills, situational and emotional intelligence, and passion. And their experiences inform our shared agenda. Beyond the upcoming solutions dialogues we are organizing together with CoFSA for national conveners, the Hub is very committed to contributing to the first Global Conscious Food System Summit in Bhutan in September. We recognize that this moment will mark a milestone to advance and deepen the Food System Summit narrative that emerged from the summit in 2021 that Sandrine was referring to, and strongly resonates with the Secretary General's latest call to action in Addis in July. So we look forward to seizing this opportunity together to match values with action, to place consciousness and dialogue at the heart of transformation, and to ensure that the decisions that we take today create food systems that nourish people, regenerate nature, and uphold dignity for all. We're one tiny part of a bigger whole, but a part that can make a true difference. Looking forward to seeing you all in Bhutan very soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I would say probably following the inspiring vision of Bhutan, we have been all connecting to all the ones that are driven by the same values. I was hearing your voice. We have, of course, to strengthen public and private collaboration. The 17 SDGs ends up into the 17th one, partnerships and partnerships. So really, this is the way on how we need to act. And I'm connecting dots also on all the different cultures that are celebrating the same values. If I'm thinking about the living heritage of Mediterranean diet, we're following eat well, stay well, and save the planet. And this is our guiding light. So of course, all of those things are always interconnected. But before we close, Andrew, I think that this has been a very inspiring sharing moments, but I would love to hand it to you before we go to the end.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. And just thank you, everyone, for an incredibly inspiring time together. I think we really have created a beautiful, conscious space. And just to, I'm full of gratitude and to remind everyone, and I think we're doing it here, we're building a movement. This isn't something that's going to take a day. This is a journey, a lifetime journey to reconnect all of us together and bring consciousness back into the work we do. And I did want to just, thank our partners. So as a movement, we have been building partnerships over the years. So thank you, Garrison, FFI, the FETSA Institute, the McKnight Foundation, the GEF, the government of Switzerland. These are all partners in CoFSA and supporting CoFSA. And now it's wonderful to invite Common Land, Sun, Government of Bhutan, Government of Ecuador. I hope you all, Club of Rome, everyone else to join this snowball, join this movement. Today is also a milestone in bringing new partners into this world of consciousness and food systems. So it's just so inspiring, and to thank you all and our partners, and to hopefully, as everyone says, see you in Bhutan. We've got a lot to do these 12 months. Hopefully we will do it together. Thank you.
And now I'm gonna hand over to Stephen Harris, VP for Ecosystem Transformation and Further Institute, to host the session.
Wonderful. Well, good morning still, at least 5 minutes until, to everyone here, certainly to His Excellency, the Prime Minister, ambassadors, government officials, leaders, everyone gathered here online and in present. And my name is Stephen Harris. I serve as Vice President of Ecosystem Transformation at the FETSA Institute, a philanthropic foundation based in Kalamazoo, Michigan. I'm humbled and honored to join each of you around this table and to offer a few closing remarks that hopefully will be received as concomitant with the themes and comments that have already been shared here, the centering of that which has for far too long been relegated to the margins of strategy discourses and regarded as irrelevant to matters of material concern. And that is what His Excellency referred to as the sacredness of our relationships and exchanges with each other and the natural world. At the FETSA Institute, we are guided by a mission to help build the spiritual foundation for a loving world. And in this moment, when we are confronting a complex of national and global challenges, ecological and otherwise, addressing what we might perhaps describe as a spiritual malnourishment is mission critical for the work that lies ahead. In other words, what plagues us is not merely material. Many people across our world, especially here in the West, have adopted ways of being and knowing, ontologies and epistemologies that undermine the possibilities for regeneration and comprehensive human flourishing. What we have observed and are observing is an utter estrangement from self, others, the natural world, and a sense of the divine that connects us all, what one sociologist referred to as the disenchantment of the world. For our purposes here, the evidences of such estrangement are apparent: indifference, exploitation, extraction. Thousands of immensely important efforts are underway to mitigate these negative outcomes that threaten a sustainable future. What remains, however, and the work that we are called to here, is widespread attention to that fundamental relationship between humanity, the natural world, and the sacred, a radical shift of consciousness that constitutes not merely a work of our hands, but of our heads and our hearts. At the Fetzer Institute, we believe that worldviews matter, and that the cultivation and formation of a sacred worldview is essential for the work of world building. To be sure, these are not new things. These are sometimes considered relics of the old world, seen by many as incompatible with the modern age. And yet our collective want of such wisdom is almost palpable. Indigenous communities and religious traditions have long been the custodians of these grand stories. May we continue to draw on such wisdom. Just this week, the Fetzer Institute formally initiated our own work for worldview transformation in this environment sector with an encouragingly successful launch convening entitled Sacred Awakening, Transforming Humanity's Relationship with the Natural World. It was an encouraging gathering. I hope we would all be encouraged by the interest in such things, standing room only. And as I said at the time, I don't believe it was just our offer of coffee. We believe, in short, that something is happening. In the midst of deep crisis, individuals and collectives are turning to what one philosopher once called matters of ultimate concern, questions of values, ultimate meaning, spiritual formation. And people are recognizing that inner work is the site from which outer work proceeds. And if that inner work is not cultivated, the outer work will be short-lived. This is perhaps the missing link, and our attention or inattention to this work will define our forward progress to the 2030 agenda and beyond. Our partnership and enthusiastic support, the UNDP and the Conscious Food System Alliance, is integral to that movement work and an encouraging light on the pathway to planetary well-being. Moreover, we believe that this endeavor can serve as a model for multi-sector work, insisting on the primary causal importance of human values for the work ahead. And it is likewise our expectation that the Global Summit in Bhutan will itself constitute a major catalyzing site of shared sacred vision and ongoing transformation. Let me leave you with this. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, when literally shackled by the structures of segregation, domination, exploitation, and injustice, we are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. May we all therefore commit ourselves to this work with full humility and full conviction, and may the fruit of our efforts help yield a societal vision of profound solidarity, a realization of holistic flourishing, a truly loving world. Thank you so much.
Excellencies, and thank you, Director Kani, for organizing all of that. Thank you.
Thank you. You did it.
What a pleasure to meet you.
Artist gave you yesterday. That nice.